Hi, and welcome to Season 2 of That's Ruddy Mysterious, a podcast of short tales about true mysteries. What created the Potomsky Crater? Who was involved in the 1963 Great Train Robbery? I'm not going to solve those mysteries, but they'll be interesting to learn about. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Transcripts and references for all episodes can be found at that'sruddymysterious.wordpress.com. No apostrophe and no exclamation point. Today's tale is about the ghost boat. There are many ghost boats, but today's tale is about the one that disappeared in the year 2014 with at least 243 people aboard. Yaphet, the husband of a woman and father of a child aboard, said the trip cost around $1,500 per person. He explained, "That means that there were 243 people who paid. There were some others who didn't pay, who went for free. There were children like Abigail and other children younger than 10. Those people didn't pay. They only count by the people who pay." He also said, "The same week that they left, there were 2 accidents on the sea, but those people are known. There are some survivors. Some people drowned. There was one other boat that was without survivors, but there were bodies floating in the water and the families can know that. But if we say that these people have disappeared, if they drown also, they can't just disappear like this." The majority of the passengers aboard the ghost boat were Eritrean. At the time, about 5,000 people a month were leaving Eritrea because of oppressive military service, forced labor, and other human rights violations. The ghost boat was to sail from Libya to Italy, trafficking all its passengers to a better life, but it never reached its destination. No one aboard the ship has contacted any family since the disappearance. Italian Navy boats searched for the missing boat but never found it. A journalist from Medium did an extensive investigation into what happened to the boat. There are 2 main theories. The first is that the boat sank, but there was no forensic evidence. No bodies were recovered, and no wreckage was found from the ship. The second theory is that the people aboard the ship are alive and in a Tunisian prison. This theory is based on a phone call from someone aboard the boat to a family member of one of the passengers. The family said they received a phone call from a Tunisian number. The person on the other end of the phone claimed to be a prison guard in a Tunisian prison. They said that the passengers from the boat were being held in his jail. There are some problems with this theory too, however. Who made the call from Tunisia? It's possible the call came from a man named Assad. He had worked in Saudi Arabia with a family member of someone who was lost on the ghost boat. When the boat went missing, the family member, Maran, who is the host of the Voices of Eritrean Refugees weekly podcast, and is a journalist and activist, called Assad. Assad said a police officer friend told him that the missing people were in a prison in the south. When Maran went to Tunisia to look for her family member, Assad got angry with her and changed the details. He then asked for money in exchange for information as to her family member's whereabouts. Assad's story contained details that seemed to be true. It's also possible that the phone call came from a man named Riyadh. Riyadh said that he never initiated calls to Eritreans. He did not ask for money in exchange for information. Riyadh had a friend named Allah who tried to leave Tunisia for Italy, but his boat was sinking and the people were rescued. Allah said a lot of Africans were aboard the ship he was on. He claimed the black Africans were held in a police station. Allah recognized a picture of someone who went missing aboard the ghost boat. The Medium reporter went to talk to Riyadh. Riyadh explained that his father started getting strange phone calls from international numbers in the late summer of 2014. His father didn't understand the language being spoken. Then a woman named Fiore called speaking Arabic. She said she was Eritrean and lived in Switzerland. She was looking for her brother who had gone missing aboard the ghost boat. Riyadh's father felt bad for the woman, so he took her brother's name and gave it to friends who could check nearby prisons for the boy. Fiore asked the father about Sfax, but he didn't have any contacts there. The friends said that there was no record of the name given in the prisons nearby. Riyad's father apologized that he couldn't help more, but Fiore kept calling. He asked her to stop. The conversation then passed to Riyad. Riyad told her about the boat sinking and foreigners being held in a police station until their deportation. Fiore gave Riyad a picture of her brother, and Riyad showed the picture to Allah, who was on the boat. Allah said that he was the boy that he had traveled with. Allah said the boat he was on left Tunisia in September of 2014, 2 months after the ghost boat left. He said there were 50 people aboard, while the ghost boat had at least 243. Allah said that 7 were black, 8 to 9 were Tunisian, and the rest were Syrian. The ghost boat was filled almost entirely of Eritreans. Allah said the boy in the picture didn't speak Arabic and made a phone call to his family just before departure. The missing boy spoke Arabic, and his sister hadn't heard from him since the end of June. It seems unlikely that Allah was aboard the ghost boat. Berhane Assayas had a sister and an uncle aboard the ghost boat. He was the emergency contact for the boat in case they sank and was the one who was to be notified about where they docked. At least 120 people aboard the boat had his number. Berhane never received a call with emergency GPS coordinates. On the night of June 28th, he called for information. Misho Tesfamariam answered the phone. He said the boat had left at 4 a.m. He said, "They will see you in Italy." On June 30th, Misho called Berhane to congratulate him for the boat arriving at its destination safely. 2 days later, Berhane called Abraham, a top smuggler and Sudanese man looking for answers. He didn't believe the stories Abraham was telling and asked why he never received an emergency message. Abraham said that he didn't give the ghost boat passengers a satellite phone. Boats are always given satellite phones because that's how they get to their final destination. The satellite phone would have served as proof that the boat actually left Tunisia. Berhane believes that Abraham sold the missing Eritreans into slavery in Tunisia and that they never left the country. Misho seems to be the only one who could say what actually happened to the ghost boat, but he's in prison in Italy right now. Abraham told Yafet that the boat made it to Italy, but that there were drugs aboard. Everyone was jailed until law enforcement could figure out who owned the drugs. There was almost no coverage of the missing boat. With so many people aboard, this seems strange, but is it possible that the lack of news is because the people who went missing were mostly black? Because of the lack of coverage, we don't know much about the missing boat. We do know the passengers never reached Italy. We know the passengers were kept at a farm outside Tripoli used by the smuggler Abraham to warehouse refugees before their journeys across the sea. We know that the missing people were taken to a location in either Tripoli or Zawara, which is 120 kilometers down the coast. If the boat sank and the bodies made it to shore, they could have been buried in a mass unmarked grave. Moran said, "There is something fishy about the whole thing. The only thing we know is that there were people in the house of the smuggler after them, so they never returned. Once he took them out to get on the boat, they didn't come back." Yafet said, 243 people disappeared. Young people, women, children. No one cares about it. Even the world doesn't care about it. He also said, "All of the families think that these people are alive somewhere. I don't know what I think now. It's hard. It's really hard." It is sometimes riskier to wear a life jacket than not when on a boat like this, because if the boat sinks, everyone clings to the person with the life jacket and they all go down. Passengers aboard these boats are usually given satellite phones to call for help in case it's needed, and it's almost always needed. Smugglers only get enough fuel to get them into international waters. That's where they then call for help from the country they are trying to get to. More than 20,000 people have died in the Mediterranean Sea since the mid-1990s. In 2014, the year the ghost boat disappeared, it's estimated that 3,000 people died trying to cross the sea. But with these sinkings, there's usually some evidence left behind. Bodies wash ashore, debris is found in the sea, etc. There is no evidence from the ghost boat. Search and rescues began in the Mediterranean Sea the same year the ghost boat disappeared. Several days after the ghost boat went missing, Italian police intercepted a phone call from S02E49, who seems to be discussing the missing ghost boat. According to documents in the call, Jamal says he personally boarded 230 people and explains that often, even when there are accidents, the Italian authorities do not allow passengers to contact their relatives. What happened to the ghost boat? Did it make it to shore? Maybe not where they were expected? Did it sink? Did it ever actually leave? Where are all the passengers? What do you think? Thanks for listening to today's episode of That's Ruddy Mysterious. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a review and follow That's Ruddy Mysterious to be updated about new episodes. Tune in next Tuesday for another thought-provoking tale.